What's poppin', man? It's Audio Al, and you're listening to Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix, right here on YouTube, Spotify, or any of your favorite streaming apps.
Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, November 4th, 2023, 8:04 a.m. sharp. It is a beautiful, chilly morning. Walters, I will not take your critiques in the intro. That's so rude. Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 162 of the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix. I am one of your lovely hosts, the Garlic Johnson. We are joined, as always, by your other lovely host, the Joshua Mitchell. Josh, say hi to Walters.
Pass.
Rude. Say hi
Hi,
to
Walters.
Say hi to Brian then.
Hi, Brian.
All right. We appreciate everyone who chats along in our Discord, like Walters is right now, sitting here harassing us. We appreciate people who check out the segment start times in the description below if they want to listen to a particular segment. And we appreciate at Levi Oki Illustration for all the beautiful art that people are seeing. And he's texting me right now about how the Modern Warfare 3 COD is out, or the Modern Warfare 3 campaign is out, and so I'm going to try and play it either later today or tomorrow. Josh, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing a little bit sleepy, a little bit lightheaded for some reason. I don't know, dehydration.
Josh, are you dying?
Yeah. What? Aren't we all?
And you invited me to play Rocket League earlier this week. I mean, there is something wrong with you. You don't play Xbox in the evening anymore.
Yeah, that was just a random occurrence. Probably won't happen again till the next blue moon.
Okay.
But it is something that, I miss playing Xbox, and I get sick of waiting for people to invite me. And so I just decided, you know what, I'll invite Gar. He's playing Rocket League. You did join a tournament before I could get in and everything, but that's okay. I still love you. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoy the whole Rocket League. It was a good time. You mentioned the COD war campaign. I don't know. I guess it depends on if Ben buys it, because him and I game share, and so I'm not buying it because I don't think I've bought any of the last CODs or played any of the last like 2 CODs. But yeah.
So selfish.
How are you, guys?
Aren't you supposed to split it with that game share? Now you're just a mooch. You're just a big old mooch.
Well, I do buy a lot of games. I just don't know if he plays them or not. Plus, whenever I download something off of Game Pass, he can get it. So, like, I download all the sports games that I know he plays. So,
wow, what a guy. What a handsome fella. What a nice friend. I'm doing all right, Josh. I don't know. There's nothing, since we last podcasted, there's nothing really of note that happened. I don't know. Wednesday, I can't think of anything that happened in my life. So, doing just fine, I suppose. Not a fan of it being colder outside. I would prefer it to be a little bit warmer, just a wee bit warmer, but that's the way she goes. But I'm doing fine. You want to get into some start sits, my friend?
no.
Okay, what would you like to do instead?
Love to.
Oh, you tricked me. All right, Josh, how did we do last week?
Last week, we all went 2 out of 5. That's you, me, and Walters, since he has joined us with
Walters.
this lovely sporting occasion. But we all had different differences. And using that new setup that I had, where the middle scoring player is a +0, the lowest scoring player is minus from whatever the middle scoring was, and then the highest scoring is plus from whatever the middle scoring was. You finished with a +10. I finished with a +23.1.
Ladies?
And Walt finished with a +4.9.
Boo.
Overall, that brings you to 14 out of 35. Boo. Minus 38.2. Me up to 11 out of 35. Minus 42.65. Boo. And Walt, there's 3 out of 10 with a minus 12.8. Boo.
So I'm
so we're
still
all
in
bad.
first place.
We're all... Yes, technically you are. My number is higher.
I mean, Walters, yeah. I would give it to Walters, but he's only 3 out of 10, dude. I've been here for 35 guesses. I won't give Walters first place. He's cheating. He's juicing his numbers. If you extrapolate that, I'm in first place.
Yeah, well, if you look at the percentages of everything, it's kind of like, whatever. You're still in the lead with that.
Ladies?
And then I don't remember the order from last week, so I'm just going to go ahead and go. You can go first this week, then me, and then Walters whenever he decides to chime in.
Always last, dude, yeah.
And so with the quarterbacks, we have got, it's a battle of the top 3, I want to say.
Top 3 in what context? Through what lens?
Top 3 after the top 32. And so we've got I don't know, is it Tyson Bagent or Tyler Bagent?
Tyson.
I don't care.
It is Tyson.
Yeah, it's Bagent at New Orleans. Then the Heineken man versus former team Minnesota. And then Aid Devontae O'Connell versus New York Giants.
Well, Josh, you've given me quite the decision. Tyson Bagent, he has 2 starts so far. In both starts, he's put up, between 11 and 12, 11 and 13, I guess, fantasy points. Nothing too special. He only has 1 passing touchdown, which is a little disappointing. Does have 2 rushing touchdowns. But otherwise not that eventful, not that exciting. Tyler Heineke last week, he came off the bench and he put up 12.4, so already Taylor Heineke looks like the better choice, but he is playing that stiff B-flow defense, so you got to be careful there. And then you've got Aiden O'Connell, who has, I believe, just 1 start this year, and he put up less than 10 fantasy points. So if this is the decision you're making right now, this is depressing. Based on ceilings, I'm going to go Heineke.
Yeah, that is a safe pick, I feel. You mentioned the stiff B-flow defense. They are stiff as a board, can't flip their hips, don't cover very well. They stink.
Whoa, buddy, easy.
But I am going to go with Heineken as well, simply because he's fresh. Hasn't played much this year, if at all. He's got some weapons. He's got the moxie. He's gonna do okay. Walters, you contributed in the chat prior to us picking because that's how you roll, I guess. And you picked Aiden O'Connell. You went with the Irish bad guy. I don't know.
To be fair, O'Connell would have been my second choice.
Same.
Because they almost always after a coach gets fired, which both the coach and the GM got fired in the Raiders, that's a very motivating moment for the team. And I think, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a high percentage of teams who win after their coach gets fired. So O'Connell is a good pick. Does that mean they're going to have an amazing fantasy performance? Not necessarily, but I do think there's definitely potential there for the Raiders now. Will it be long-lasting? Probably not. Go ahead.
Yeah, why don't teams just fire their coach every week?
Josh, that's a great question. You should go coach you should go be a GM for the Packers and then try that method and see what happens.
Probably have a better GM than what we currently have.
Goody. All right, Josh, we'll move on to the running back position. We've definitely got some, sometimes we can really be scraping the bottom of the barrel with this start-sit bit, just like you saw a second ago with Tyson Bagent, Taylor Heineke, and Aiden O'Connell. But these are some household names, Josh. At least 2 of the 3 for sure. 3 to 3 if you've been a fan of fantasy for the last couple of years. We've got the Joe Mixon running back for the Cincinnati Bengals playing versus Buffalo. We've got Jonathan Taylor, running back for the Indianapolis Colts, playing at Carolina. And then we've got the Gus Bus. Gus Edwards, running back for the Baltimore Ravens, playing versus Seattle. Josh, out of the name brand running backs, who do you like this week, and why?
Well, I don't pull up the stats like you, so I don't have any sort of clue how they've been doing this season. I know Mixon's had some okay weeks. Jonathan Taylor obviously had that whole pup list and contract situation that seems to be sorted out. And then Gus Bus has had a couple good weeks. That running back room is kind of on rotation, but he is kind of that lead back from what I remember. As far as defenses that they're going against, Buffalo's been solid. Carolina's been really good, and then Seattle's been okay, I guess. From what I remember, I'm going to go with Gus Edwards because he has the best nickname of the 3.
Gus Bus. Yeah, I mean, so I was looking here, and the one thing, so I pull everything up on Sleeper. The one thing Sleeper really fails at in their web browser is that they don't put the average per game just as an easily available stat. They have everything else here, but I have to look on the phone if I want to see their average per game. And with all these bye weeks, that'd be a very nice stat to see, but it is what it is. I will say, Josh, Gus Edwards definitely has had the best last 2 weeks. It's not necessarily fair because Joe Mixon had a bye in week 7, but Gus Edwards put up basically 29 points in half-point PPR last week, and then 21 in Week 7 versus Detroit, and he was doing that on just a 50% snap share. He is a little bit touchdown dependent. 2 weeks ago at Detroit, he had 1 rushing touchdown, and then last week at Arizona, he had 3 rushing touchdowns. So you take away his 3 rushing touchdowns, not saying that's fair, not saying you should make that a practice, but that's 18 less points, and then he only has 10 fantasy points with his 80 yards. So you give him 1 touchdown, then he's at 16 fantasy points, not nearly as impressive. He's certainly not going to put up 3 rushing touchdowns every week. So that's something you have to consider. But you're also like, hey, is this guy getting all the goal line work? Is this a guy who should be a heavy touchdown scorer? All these things you have to consider. Joe Mixon, he's a starting running back, but he's definitely fallen down to RB2 these days. He's currently running back 22 on the season. Last week he only had, he did pretty good. He had 87 yards and a touchdown, whereas Jonathan Taylor only had 95 yards and no touchdown. This one's tough, honestly. I kind of want to ride with you and go Gus Edwards, but I'll just keep it spicy for the program, and I will take Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, Gus Edwards is certainly the hottest of the 3 right now, and we will get Walter's pick in a moment. Josh, who's next?
Walters went with Joas Mixon.
Joseph? The Joseph Mixon. He's mixing it up.
Moving on to the wide receivers, we have got hometown hero, Adam Bartholomew Thielen versus Indianapolis. Next we've got the number 1 wide receiver in the entire United States.
That's not true.
He's up there. He's top 2, not 2.
He's like 3 at this point.
How dare you speak the truth? But he is one of the best route runners in the game, on one of the worst teams in the game, who just fired their head coach, and their GM, and their offensive coordinator, and their towel boy, and everybody else in that building that had anything to do with any sort of player development. But we've got Davante Adams versus New York Giants. And then lastly, we've got somebody who kind of describes how the faith battle goes with his last name. Godwin. And he's at Houston. And so we are going to pick from these 3. All 3 have been wide receiver 1 at some point in their career. And go.
I mean, if you want to think about it, didn't God lose to the serpent? We live in a sin-filled world. In the Garden of Eden. Anyways.
We're talking about the end.
Okay, well, sure. I hope
it's not Avengers beginning game. It's Avengers end game. So
I hope I never see the end. Josh, does it pain you to have Davante Adams in the same category as Adam Thielen, Chris Godwin? Does that hurt your soul? It's not his fault, obviously. He's on one of the worst football teams this year.
No, it doesn't hurt my soul that he's in this category. Well, it hurts my soul that he's in this category. I know that he is head and shoulders above these 2, especially with swag, because I don't know if you've seen them Taco Bell commercials, but he's pretty funny. But yeah, it's one of those things like, yeah, Jimmy G, I know you are literally Forky's identical twin. And so you're trash.
Trash?
Yep, you are trash, Jimmy G. I've been saying it for years. The fact that Josh McDaniels had to let everybody else know, and it cost him his job, is, I support Josh McDaniels in that regard. Hopefully, Aiden O'Connell, last time I believe he played with Davante, he targeted him like 13 times. Sure, he's, not accurate. So Davante only had 8 catches, but I do think that Aiden O'Connell is like, Davante is Davante. So yeah,
I'm always fucking open. But Josh, right now the best fantasy receiver of the 3, have they all had a bye week? Oh, and Davante hasn't even had a bye week. The other 2 have, so this is even worse for Davante. But I'm taking Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, he's a starting wide receiver. He has never had less than 81% snap share on the season. He's except for week 1, he's never had less than 8 targets. This man is a volume king. I'm going Adam Thielen, Josh, and it's not close for me. Who do you want?
I'm going Davante Adams. I think that, as you said earlier, with the O'Con man, Davante Adams is going to show up and show out. He had a couple drops last week, or he had a drop last week. I don't know if it was a couple. And then he had Jimmy G just sail it into the third row of the bleachers on a couple wide open touchdown passes. So I think Aiden O'Connell is going to be like, don't worry, bruh. I got you, Devon Bay. And
Oh,
so,
man.
yeah.
So I went Thielen, and you and Walters both went Adams, and I'm sure it hurts your gut to be in the same category as Walters. Moving on to the tight
Why?
end.
He finished 106 or something like that, 126 in NARFA last week.
Yeah, dude, his thing is thangin'. Moving on.
I did finish. I do want to just Walters. That is an impressive finish, but I did get 96th last week. So sorry.
What do you got to rain on his parade, dude? He's sitting there in the deer stand right now. He's fucking not necessarily freezing cold. It's not quite freezing cold, but he is chilly. He sees his breath every time he breathes. He has to listen to our bullshit, dude. He's trying to provide for his family, trying to put meat on the table, and you're just belittling this man. How does that make you feel, Josh? You feel better for putting another man down?
Blanks.
He hunts with blanks. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, he hunts with blanks because he knows if he actually kills a deer, he's gonna have to skin it, and then all he do is go ishy.
The heater in your hunting shack. Well, you're not sitting in the shack right now, are you? You're sitting in a fucking tree stand. Unless you got one of
he
those,
hunts from a shack.
I was gonna say you got one of those NIMBY fucking heat stand, dude. Despicable. You're not even a real man. You got to be running around, rolling around in the leaves, fucking putting but deer shit and piss all over you, dude. That's how real men hunt. As someone who's never hunted, I'm an expert. but moving on, like I've tried to 3 times now, to the tight end position, Josh. Here's another one that you did not draft a tight end this year, and you are depressed that you were making these decisions. But we've got Hunter Henry, tight end for the New England Patriots, playing versus the Washington Commanders. We've got Jonnu Smith, tight end for the Atlanta Falcons, playing versus Minnesota. And we've got Luke, it's Luke, right? I believe, yeah. Luke Musgrave, tight end, rookie tight end for the Green Bay Packers, playing at SoFi Stadium, aka at the Los Angeles Rams. Josh, if you're depressed and having to make this tight end decision like I am in the Deflate These Balls League, who are you going with and why?
Yes. These are all kind of, like you said, disappointing. I do think that Luke Musgrave, he's had decent production. He hasn't necessarily found the end zone. I think he did once this season, but he gets targeted. That offense is atrocious at times. Basically they only play a half of football. Jonnu Smith, he had been number 1 wide receiver or tight end on that team for a while. I don't know if that's still the case because Pitts had a couple back-to-back good games. And then Hunter Henry, he's had a solid production. Washington just traded their top 2 defensive players on the line, and so they may have a little bit more time to pass. They may also run the ball a little bit more as a result. And so I think that with all of this information, I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to go with Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry, okay. I mean, he did really started the season strong. He had week 1 and week 2 both put up 14 fantasy points and half-point PPR. He has the single highest week of any of these 3 options. Luke Musgrave isn't he playing second fiddle to someone? Don't they have a better tight end, or am I thinking of a different team?
He is the best.
Okay.
You're thinking Tucker Kraft is the other tight end.
Okay. I think of a different team with another rookie tight end somewhere. Anyways, Josh, Hunter Henry has had the best 2 weeks so far, but they were week 1 and week 2, so we were pretty far removed from them. He has been doing his snap share has only gone down all season long. He shares with Gesicki out there in New England. I personally am going to go with Jonnu Smith. I'm very curious what this offense will do with Taylor Heineke out there. Does Heineke like the tight end more or less? I really have no fucking clue. But I do know that Jonnu Smith is on the field a lot. Last week he had a 71% snap percentage, which was his second highest of the year. Kyle Pitts is obviously the receiving tight end there, but Jonnu Smith is on the field a lot. A broken play, who knows if what Jonnu Smith could do. So I'm going to rock with Jonnu Smith this week just out of sheer desperation. And it looks like Walters is with me, so I'd like to change my vote to... No, I'll keep it at Jonnu Smith. So Josh was Hunter Henry, and Walters and I went with Jonnu Smith.
Embarrassing.
Dude, don't you fucking do that to me. Who's in our last category, Josh?
What?
Who's in our last category, Josh?
Moving on to the sexy flexy, we've got 3 players who currently play in the NFL. Michael Thomas versus Chicago, who just traded, who seems to be in the hunt for something because they just traded for a rental player, it seems. Then we've got Donta Foreman at Nolans. And then lastly, we've got somebody with one of the best names in the game. We've got Tank Dell versus Tampa Bay. Gar, whose nose you picking?
Ooh, well, I'm picking my own nose first and foremost, as always. So if you're looking at volume, if you're looking for someone who, because these three players are obviously not, we're down in the flex, or these are not, starters in your team. Hopefully, if these are starters on your team every week, you are in trouble. But if you're looking for volume, Michael Thomas is easily the play. He's the second best wide receiver, if not the first best wide receiver on Nolans. He's on the field a lot, no less than 67% of the time. He has no less than 6 targets on the season, usually getting 7 or 8. Even got 9 a couple weeks. Not for a lot of yardage. They are much more inefficient targets. There's not much you can do about that. But they're playing Chicago this week. Chicago is historically bad, so I like Michael Thomas this week. If you like a volume play, Deonta Foreman obviously had that huge blow up week. Put up almost 32 half-point PPR points on Las Vegas, and then fell way back down last week versus the Chargers. So I would stay away from Deonta Foreman. And Tank Dell, he started the season hot, had a concussion for multiple weeks, which is disappointing to hear. Last week was a weird game at Carolina. I'm between Tank Dell and Michael Thomas. I really like what Tank Dell and CJ Stroud are putting together there in Houston. They're playing the Tampa Bay defense, so that's a bit of a stiffer defense. Although their secondary isn't as good. Oof. I'll rock with Michael Thomas. I'll go tried and true. I think Tank Dell definitely has the higher ceiling between the two receivers, but I'll stick with Michael Thomas for a safer floor this week. His worst performance has been 7 points. That's his absolute floor, whereas Tank Dell's worst performance was 3.4. So I'll rock with Michael Thomas. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Thomas as well. He's the one that I lean towards this entire time. So, yep, that's who I got.
All right, and Walters went Tank Dell in the chat, so we appreciate Walters for playing along. This bonus start is old. You can ignore that. And I didn't put one up this week because I'm a lazy bad host. Josh, we can move on here to our FanDuel Bust of the Week. Who do you got bussin', as the kids would say this week?
Do kids actually say that?
They did for like a couple weeks, for sure.
Do they have concussions?
No.
So they're just dumb?
Josh, we were dumb kids once too.
I'm still a dumb kid.
Bingo.
I'm going to go with last week I had Cooper Kupp, who was, in fact, a bust. I'm going to keep it rolling with Cooper Kupp, who is $8,700. He's going up against a stiff defense in...
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, are they playing Green Bay?
They are playing Green Bay.
Okay.
Stiff Green Bay defense.
Yep, stiff Green Bay defense. So when the Rams go up by 30 in the first quarter, he's going to be sitting. And so I'm just banking on it being Puka.
There you go. I like that. My bust this week will be Jalen Hurts, not because he's a bad player. They're playing the Dallas defense, though. Dallas does have one of the better defenses in the league. Jalen Hurts will probably still put up, 15, 18 fantasy points. That's pretty good. But when you're paying $9,000 in FanDuel, that ain't worth it. You should put your quarterback money elsewhere. So for strategic purposes, I am putting Jalen Hurts as my FanDuel bust of the week. And with that, Josh, we can just go ahead and preview the week in front of us here. I know you don't normally have a lot to add here, but is there any games you're excited for this week? Anything you're particularly excited for? We are having I don't think it's definitely not the first German game in history, but I don't believe we had a Germany game last year. Maybe we did. Doesn't matter. We have a Germany game on Sunday, so we'll have another 8:30 a.m. football game for us here in the Central Time Zone. But anything else you're excited for in this week in football coming up here in Week 9?
I'm just excited for football. Germany game is going to be fun. I think that one's going to be entertaining. I'm looking forward to... I'm always looking forward to the Packers game, thinking that this is the week that they finally put a full game together. And then I'm sure about 5-10 minutes in, I'll realize that that's not the case. I'm interested to see how the Vikings rebound after losing Kirk. There's a lot of storylines in the NFL that I'm looking forward to, but I just like to watch football.
Right. I mean, we're definitely getting spoiled a bit with that Germany game, that 8:30 game. It is Miami and KC playing in Germany, so that is hopefully similar to the Mexico Chiefs Rams game from whatever it was 4 or 5 years ago now. But that was insane. It was like 55-51 or something. That's what I want to see on Sunday morning. Just start my morning right. Start myself at a 3/4 chub as soon as I see Mike McDaniels, and then just hold that for the rest of the day. I don't need blood flow in my brain, dude. I just need it in my pants. I am very interested to see what Jaron Hall does, and he's playing Taylor Heineke, so that should be an interesting game. To your point earlier, do you think so? It sounds like Matthew Stafford is questionable. I don't know if you've heard the latest. Is he playing or not? I'm not sure, but what do you want from the Packers? Of course, you want the Packers to succeed, but like, I guess do you feel like Jordan Love is the guy? Do you want to how it's just looking at you personally, how long or short is your leash with Jordan Love? Would you want to see him as a starter for at least next year or two, like give the guy, a couple years to really potentially find his way? Do you want the leash to be short and they should be looking for someone else if he stinks the rest of this year? How do you feel about that situation?
So I actually think that this year is kind of his acclimated to the game speed, because you could say he sat behind Rodgers for 3 years and he did get some experience preseason, but the regular season is an entirely different monster
for sure.
And so he needs to have that experience. I think that next year is kind of the year that we actually judge him accordingly. I want to see him make smarter plays. So instead of third down, and so 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, I don't want to see him taking those shots deep downfield. I want to see him taking those check downs or the smarter plays where guys are going to be able to either make a play or get close to like a 4th and 1 to make it easier to go for on 4th down. I've seen way too many. I did give him props for taking shots downfield earlier in the season, but now I want to see him make those smarter plays. He's been hucking it deep for the last few games that I've watched when it's like 2nd and 3rd, when he could just be taking that the easier pass and getting a few yards, letting his receivers do some work. I want to see Christian Watson get more involved. I do think that they need to get him the ball more in creative routes, and I want to see Aaron Jones run the football. I'm sick and tired of having him on a snap count of 10 plays, and then watching AJ Dillon fall forward for 2 yards every other play. And so I think that that's what I want to see. And on the defensive side of the ball, I want to see pressure. Rashawn Gary signed an extension, which is great. I want to see him getting some pressure. I want to see how they step up after losing Rasul Douglas, who is kind of a vocal leader. I just want to see the defense kind of put together a solid game. I know that Jair Alexander has been hurt, so he has definitely not been who he says he is and who he claims to be. He's not going to lose that moxie because he's hurt, but he is. You could definitely tell just with how he's moving. And so I want to see how they kind of recoup after last week and stuff.
Wow, Josh, that was a much more elaborate answer than I expected you to have, but I appreciate the insight. As a Packers fan, I would agree from a fundamental standpoint, give Jordan Love this year and next year. I know, football fans can be pretty impatient, but I think it's fair to give the guy a chance. I mean, you've had him this long. You might as well, give him a little bit of a rope to see if he can figure it out. So I appreciate your analysis there, and it'll be interesting to see what the Packers can do. So, but you still want them to win. You still want to see what J-Lo can do. I know some Packers fans are already calling for a change or calling for strict scrutiny. So that should be interesting. Before we go here, Josh, we did get a start sit. I don't know at what time Walters put it in there. Oh, it looks like 4 minutes ago, so we skipped right past it. It's my fault. But Walters did give us a bonus start sit, so I want to make sure we don't ignore our most interacting fan on Saturday mornings. He gave us the start sit of wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, Adam Thielen's teammate, Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan, I don't know, remember who they're playing. They're playing Indianapolis. So Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, playing in Indiana, versus Indiana, or do we want Jahan Dotson, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders, playing New England? Who would you rather start sit between Mingo or Jahan Dotson?
Dotson.
All right, Dotson, easy peasy. And then our last question, Josh, our walk-off question, is Will Levis someone you're excited to see moving forward? Of course, he had that huge 4-touchdown first game. I guess it was just not even a week ago. And then on Thursday night, he looked a little bit more pedestrian as he lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He still didn't look terrible, but certainly not nearly as good as he looked in his debut. How do you feel about Will Levis so far, and are you excited to watch him rest of the season, per Walter's question?
Yeah, I think it would be. He's fun. He was fun to watch. He's a tough kid. He's made some smart throws. He made some good throws. Going up against Pittsburgh, their defense is pretty stout and solid. They still have Patrick Peterson on the field, which is kind of a question mark because he's not as good as he was 10 years ago when he was midway through his career. But
really, a player who's much older isn't as good as his prime. Are you sure?
Yeah. But I do think that he's made some good plays. I don't know if he'll ever repeat his week one the first week he played performance this year. But I do think he's fun to watch.
All right.
He needs to change his name to Will Wranglers, though.
Shut the fuck up. I'm excited for Will Levis too, for what it's worth. I am biased because I did draft him in one of my fantasy leagues, the one Superflex fantasy league. So I want him to succeed, just so other people I can rub it in their faces a little bit. But I can be a petty human sometimes, so I am very biased, and I'm excited to see Will Levis, and I want him to succeed. But that's it, folks. That is what we will go ahead and head out on. We are a lot of exciting things in real football and in fantasy this week. We are on the second half. The playoffs are slowly coming up on the horizon, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. A lot of bye weeks. Bye weeks are coming through again after we had just a little reprieve in week 8. And so we will see how everything turns out. Best of luck to you who are out there hunting this morning. So if you're listening to us from the deer stand or from the hunting shack, we appreciate that. We appreciate letting us continue to be a part of your week, even as you, go out there and enjoy nature and try and get yourself a deer. Josh, anything else you want to say to the folks before we leave, or do you just want to hit the Go Packers and skedaddle?
I want to just congratulate Walters on beating me in the Champions Brash Out League because he was fortunate enough to go against me where I have Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, CMC, all on buys. So I'm forced to start Alec Pierce, KJ Osborne, and I don't even know who my third wide receiver is in that league, but it's a travesty. It's a disgusting roster at this point, and yeah, so congrats to you, Walters. I'm not even going to put up 100 this week.
Okay, Josh calling his shot early, and he's calling a big fat L. Well, again, we appreciate everyone so much for listening. Good luck with your shoosting and your hunting and everything else this weekend. And we love you, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday evening, as we always do, at 7:30 p.m. sharp-ish. Love you, bye.
Packers.
Jesus. Walters, if you look right there, look to your east, beyond that tree line there. Yeah, you see that rack. It's at least a 5-6 pointer. Go ahead and take the shot. Right there. Pah! Band of big racks for sure. Walters, you horn dog, dude. It's kind of lonely in that deer stand. Who knows what Walters is doing to pass the time. Top of the morning to ye, Joshua.
And on the 8th day, he said, "Let there be Josh."